Okay, so as my colleague pointed out, the one remaining item to be implemented in today's application is the login mechanism. If we take a look at the application now, we have a login screen, but it doesn't do anything actually. It just goes to the selectpizza.jsp page. What do we need to do according to you guys and girls? How would you go ahead with this?
So make a filter.
Yeah, so we need indeed a filter to check whether the user is logged in or not, and if they are not logged in, we do a redirect to the login page. So I'm going to add a filter, projects. Let me add a package. Oh. And we add a filter, which I will call authentication filter. Okay. Yep. Okay, so the filter needs to know when to kick in, or at least we need to tell the filter on which URLs it needs to kick in. So on which URLs does it need to kick in? On the various ones that my colleague has implemented. So for example, when we order pizza napolitana, my favorite.
Is het voor bonuspunten?
Yeah. Oh, I clicked prosciutto, no problem. It's not bad either. So order this pizza. We go to confirm pizza. For example, confirm pizza. And what was the previous one? New pizza, stuff like that. That should only be accessible if we are logged in. So if we go to our filter, we can say, for example, new pizza. And what was the other one? Confirm pizza. And so on and so on. We add the various URLs our filter needs to respond to. Okay? So we do next, finish, and we have our filter. Now, as you might recall, filters are processed in a chain, and we have what we do before the request and the response. Before the filters or after the rest of the filters? When do we want our login filter to kick in? Before or after? Yes, as soon as possible. That's only but it's only theory because we only have one filter here. But normally it should always kick in before if we have an authentication filter. Okay, so I'm going to remove the debug code. What are we going to do here? So I followed your suggestion. I added a filter. Now is my question to you, what are we going to do in our filter? Yes? Redirect him to the login page when? And in which situation are we going to redirect them to the login page? Always? Yeah? When they're not logged in. So I have to check what my colleague has implemented in the controller. Let me go to the projects, to the pizza controller 1. So we have a user attribute, which I will make public so I can access my attribute also in my filter. Oh, messing with the code, my apologies. So this dot request dot sorry, no, request dot get session. It's not there. Why isn't it there? Anyone an idea why I can't access my session from my request object? Yes?
Because it's not an HTTP service.
Request, but a generic servlet request. Indeed, we need to cast. What we get here is a generic servlet request. We need to cast it to an HTTP servlet request. Let me import it. And I have my session. Okay. Alt enter. Session. Good. Okay, now we need to check whether our attribute exists. Let me go and take a look. That's something you will learn when you write code that has been developed in a team, that you always have to take a look at how the code has been structured. So it is in the package, although it carries my name, it's in the package controller. So let's go to controller, pizza controller 1. User. So if user is equals to null, what do we do? If the user is not defined, yes?
Go back to the login page.
We go back to the login page. And we don't have our, we have our request dispatcher. And we go back to our login page. Let's go and take a look at the login page. Login page has been defined as page login. Forward, request, and response. Is there a question? No. So static, when you have a, so the question was, if you have a variable and you put it static, isn't it by default public? That was your question. Eh? So you can have a public static variable and you can have a private static variable. So public and private determines the access level, whether it can be accessed outside of the class or the object or not. And static, when a variable, a field is static, it's member of the class itself instead of an instance of the class. So in this case, I need public static because I need to be able to access it via the class in another object. Okay, so our filter kicks in when we request confirm pizza or new pizza. It retrieves the session object. It's going to check whether there's a user in there, and if there's no user in there, we go and do a forward to our login page. Do we need to do anything else in our authentication filter, according to you?
Check if the user exists.
We check if the user exists upon login. So do we need to do anything else in our filter? It's a Boolean question. Yes or no, true or false, 0 or 1. 0, no, indeed. So we have our check mechanism here. Okay, next we go to our controller, to our login page, and we have select pizza.jsp. As with what my colleague implemented, we will not be having the classic model where we have one JSP page submitting to another JSP page who orchestrates the transition between the views. Our controller servlet. So we will go to login.js, just login or do login. And in our controller, we will be writing a method login. Because if we launch the application now, let me save everything. If we launch the application now and we go to the index page, login not found. Why do I get a 404? And with my colleague, he always got a nice slash login or slash new pizza or slash add topping. Why do I get a 404? Because you might get this on the exam as well.
It's not
Caught.
Yeah.
Where does it need to be caught?
in the controller service.
Yes, we need to add a mapping in the controller service so that it responds to login. So I'm going to my controller, and here at the top, I'm going to add slash login. Let's try this again. And we get our slash login. So indeed, correct, our controller servlet did not respond to this get request because we did not have the URL pattern in our annotation in the class. Okay, let me take a look at the database. Do we need to implement this with the database, or are you just fine with a hard-coded username and a yes? There is a user and a password in the database. Jeff and? Okay, thank you. So there is already a user and a password in the database. Let's go back to our project. Where is my project? Where is it? May I? Okay. So PizzaPlace. We go back to our. I've lost my thread now. Projects, pizza controller. Okay. So we go to the login method, which I have to write. Private void do login. HTTP servlet request HTTP servlet request response. Okay. So what's the first step in my login mechanism? What do I need to do first? Somebody from the third row? Yes, yes. Yes, so we need to go to our database to check whether the user exists or not. So pizza.da get instance, get user, and we have our user login. Where do we get our login? From our request. Let me check how it's called. User and password. So user. Are the passwords encrypted in the database? Okay. So we saw last week that you should always store your passwords encrypted in the database. So if you have an exam with a user and a password, make sure to store it encrypted.
Hash toch?
Sorry?
Dat is toch, je moet je paswoord toch hashen, want encryptie kan
Yeah, hashing, one-way hashing, one-way hashing.
encryptie kan je terugdraaien.
Yeah, with encryption you can reverse. There's no need for reversing the password. Yeah. So we get our password. We retrieve our user. There we go. What's next? Anybody from the fourth row? What would you do next? Yes, very simple. Sometimes things don't have to be difficult. We just check whether the password is correct. Okay, so if password user.getPassword equals password, what do we do next? We put our user in the session. There we go. And what is the next action we want the user to allow to perform?
Redirect it to the main page where you can select your pizza.
Yes, redirect to the page where you can select the pizzas. So that's to the page called, let me check, page pizza. So we get a request dispatcher. Forward, request, and response. And else, if the user password does not match, or if the user does not exist, so if user is different from null and user password equals password, we do the redirect. Else the user might not exist, or we might have entered the wrong password. What do we do then? Well, we give a warning. Let me see if there's an error message for that. Login error, invalid username and or password. There we go. And we dispatch to which page? Our login page. Okay, I need to throw my servlet exception here. And an IO exception. Why? Because our servlet and JSP framework, guys, girls, just a couple more minutes, is throwing these exceptions if something is going wrong, our servlet framework. Okay, so we have our login mechanism. Is anything missing according to you? Well, the filter kicks in. If we take a look at authentication filter, the filter kicks in if we go to confirm pizza or new pizza. So there are other URL patterns there. Let's take a look at the pizza controller. We have add topping. And we have confirm pizza and cancel pizza. Yes?
Do you have to do that? Because they redirect you to do pizza normally.
Well, do you want your code that's written there to be...
Well, because there is not a pizza in session, it will automatically redirect to
new pizza,
new pizza
but you're not logged in. But you're not logged in.
Yeah.
We want them to log in, so they need to be redirected to the login page.
Yeah, but because you redirect to new pizza, does the filter not kick in after? This, when you call add topping,
Yes.
this one redirects to new pizza. Will the filter kick in or not?
The filter will kick in for everything that's in the URL patterns.
So yeah, if you redirect to a new page, it will kick in for the new page. So it will. No. But okay. Can we try it maybe? Anders, add topping.
Okay, we'll try. Okay, so I leave it like this.
Delete add topping.
Add topping, okay. So I just leave confirm pizza and new pizza.
Yeah.
Okay. Let us start the application. Tja. What did I forget? The play button. Still not saved? Okay, thank you. Okay, so I log in using Jeff and Jeff123. I'm logged in, and now I can add a pizza, prosciutto. I can order my pizza, etc., etc. Okay, I will stop my server and restart my server because we don't have a logout functionality. I will have to do it this way. Okay, PizzaPlace. And now I don't log in, and what do I do?
Go to add topping. Oh,
Add topping redirects me
this
to
page.
the view to select the pizzas, but my URL stays at topping,
Okay.
so the filter doesn't kick in.
Yeah.
Let me try going to the filter and adding add topping. And I'm redirected to my login page. Okay. Are there any questions regarding the login mechanism and the filter, or is this clear? Because we had some questions about filters and their use. So here we see how we can use a filter to prevent the user from accessing resources he or she should not access. Clear? Okay, good. Then I need to check how I can end this movie. Close, save, stop. Can you help me?